Good morning. It's time for another episode of Cold Weather Hot Laps. It's 23 degrees this morning. Got some permafrost on the ground here, so this should be a nice chilly run, but hoping to heat things up on the track a little bit. I'm warming up today in the Nike Zoom Fly 5, and then I'll be doing a couple mile repeats in the Saucony Endorphin Elite, the Hoka Rocket X2, and the Adidas Adios Pro 3. So I'm gonna try and do some fast miles and see how these shoes compare. So 1 mile warm up done. The toes and fingers are chilly, so I'm not really looking forward to wearing these super perforated shoes right now. I'm probably gonna be getting a nice breeze. We'll see how this one goes. Going from the Zoom Fly 5 to the Endorphin Elite is quite the experience. These are so much lighter. Feel that forward tipping sensation, and that these just want to move. So let's give them what they want. Whew. So I think that was about 606, 605, something around there. Man, this shoe feels great. It's such a fast, light shoe. Whew. Going from the Zoom Fly 5 to this feels like I was just driving like a 4-cylinder van and now I'm in a brand new Ferrari. Like, just a light, sleek, fast, explosive. Endorphin Elite's a great shoe. I decided I'm not going to take any footage when I'm running here today because there's like a youth group that's participating and doing some runs around the lap, so I'm kind of don't want to be weaving in and out of people with the camera. So I'll put in some stock footage of me running in this shoe from other runs. So the Rocket X really looks like a smaller shoe. This is a 12 and the Saucony is a 12.5. But if you look at the volume of the upper, the Hoka shoe really does have a tighter fit of my foot. Kind of fits me like a glove. The fit of that shoe is absolutely perfect. This one, I'd like the toe box to be a little bit more snug. That would work better for me, but usually when I wear this shoe, I just wear a thicker sock and that takes care of it. But with the Endorphin Elite, that one has more of that responsive foam with the aggressive rocker where it's kind of pushing you forward. You're not sinking in as much, whereas the Hoka foam is a lot softer and bouncier. So we'll see how this one feels after following up the Saucony. So I'm pulling the plug on this test today. There's too many people on the track. There's kids all over the place. Don't want to barrel anybody over. And also had to go really wide to like go around all these people. So the mile in the Hoka was like 6:53, but that's not representative at all. I think I did about a 7:12 in the Adios Pro 3, but I wasn't really trying. Like I said, there's people all over the track, so kind of taking it out wide, going back to the inside. So didn't really learn that much comparing these shoes today. One thing I will say, just the way that they feel. The Endorphin Elite definitely feels the fastest. It's the most aggressive. I felt the most like I wanted to turn up the pace in that shoe. The Adidas feels like it has the highest heel. It feels like it has a higher drop. I'll have to double check the exact numbers for that, but the Adidas feels like it really wants to bounce you off the heel, but then it's less of an aggressive toe off than the Endorphin Elite. The Rocket X2 really is more balanced. It's kind of right in the middle. That one I feel like focuses more on the rocker geometry, so it's very smooth. It's not as soft and bouncy as I remember it being, but that could also be due to the really cold weather today. It's been sitting outside in 20-something degrees for probably like a half hour while I was doing other runs. So they're all really good shoes, but very different. This is one thing that's kind of frustrating. I know myself, I end up buying a lot of these shoes sight unseen. You know, a lot of times they don't have them in a running shoe store. So it's really kind of hard to dial in what's the best super shoe for you. Really, the moral of the story right now is every brand is making really good shoes. They're almost all using Piba foam. They all have a carbon plate. Most of them have a rocker shape. So there's a lot of similarities, you know, lightweight uppers, but it's really how well does that upper fit, how aggressive is the drop and the toe off, and what's going to work best for you. But the problem is it's hard to try these shoes without buying them. So this is a dilemma that will continue to persist, I guess. So my head-to-head mile on the track was interrupted when I did that. I think it's actually been a week or two since then. The weather's been really cold. It's been ice and snow and freezing. So I've been doing more on the Peloton recently, and I went on the treadmill a couple times. Back outside today. So I just did a 2-mile warm-up, and now I'm going to run a mile full out in the Rocket X2 the Adios Pro 3 and the Endorphin Elite back to back on the road this time. First off, I'm wearing the Rocket X2. I figured I'd change up the lineup. This again has by far the tightest fitting upper of the three. It might be the tightest fitting upper of any shoe I have. I would be between this and the Puma DV8 Elite version 1. That one also has a very tight fitting upper. I do have kind of a regular volume to slightly narrow foot though, so it actually fits me really nicely. I really like the lockdown that I get from this shoe. Just walking in it here, I can feel the rocker. I can feel a little bit of bounce and softness from that foam. So let's give it a go and see how we do. Well, that one felt great actually. I was holding about 5:36 mile pace for about half a mile. So I was on pace for like my fastest mile ever for like half a mile. I did slow down a little bit on the back end of the mile. I think I ended with about a 6:05 or 6:06. I'll get the official number there. But also, I didn't pick the easiest mile for myself here. The beginning has some downhill in there, which helped me get up to that nice quick speed. But probably the last like quarter mile is uphill. So I was trucking hard up that hill to try and get it under 6. Ended up just missing, but wow. Very impressed with this shoe. I think this shoe loves high cadence. If you're taking fast steps, it just really rewards you. It feels almost like you're doing foot fires, like, you know, when you go like this real quick and keep your feet off the ground. Its response to that's so nice. I felt like my feet were barely touching the ground. I'm engaging the rocker in the shoe and the plate, and it just had a nice quick toe off. Just felt really kind of sprightly on the ground, just kind of gliding over the ground. I have experienced that with this shoe. This shoe is great at closing. In races where I've used this one and I'm sprinting to the finish, I get up to a really fast speed and it just feels great. So I guess really the only problem for me with this shoe is it feels really great when I'm going as hard as I can, but I can't go as hard as I can for an entire race. So I think this is more of a short to middle distance shoe. I don't think I would use it for the marathon. I want a little bit more bounce, a little bit more cushion than this shoe's giving me. But for a flat out speed shoe, it's really fantastic. So up next is the Adidas Adios Pro 3. This one's kind of old faithful to me. I probably have close to 100 miles in these. I'll double check when I get back. But this is a shoe I've had for a long time, definitely the longest of the three that I'm using here. I ran the New York City Marathon in these. I also ran the Suffolk County Half Marathon in these last year. So I have a lot of race experience with this shoe. Let's see how it does today. Interesting. So that was a 6:36, so about 30 seconds slower than the Hoka. I could really feel a big difference between these two shoes today. I feel like I'm engaging the heel of the Adios Pro 3 a lot more. It feels like it has a higher drop. I'll have to double check the exact numbers there, but it feels like it's encouraging you to land more towards the heel. And then it's bouncier than the Hoka shoe. So you're kind of bouncing off your heel, but the toe off is not as explosive as in the Hoka. The rocker's not as good. So this shoe has kind of more of a bounding effect that I feel like helps you over a longer distance race. If you're running a marathon, you're not going all out, you're running a little bit slower. I feel like the bounding nature of this shoe works better for that. But when I'm just trying to push really hard and run 1 mile fast, it's actually kind of holding me back because I'm sinking into the shoe a little bit more than I want to. It doesn't have as quick of a turnover, doesn't have as good of a toe off. So the shoe is comfortable and cushioned. It's feeling more squishy than the Hoka shoe, which is strange to me because I remember that one being a lot softer. I'm still wondering if this cold weather has anything to do with the way these foams are feeling. But still a really good shoe. Again, I think I definitely would prefer this one for a longer race, but if I was running a 5K, I definitely would do it faster in the Rocket X than the Adios Pro 3. All right, so last shoe of the day, we're up to the Saucony Endorphin Elite. This has been my favorite super shoe in recent memory. I did my best 5K of 2023 in this shoe, just over 20 minutes. I've done better than that before, but I haven't been as fast the last year. So we're working on that. I did run a marathon in these shoes recently. Got really hampered by the wind, but didn't have any issues with the shoe in the race. But this one to me has a really good combination of an aggressive forward tilt. It has a very aggressive shape to the front of the shoe. The foam is firm, but not too firm. It's kind of a good consistency for me. I think, again, because of my size, I'm 230 pounds. I sink into shoes where the foam is too soft. So I think these ones are kind of right, the perfect balance, where they give me a little bit of sink in and rebound, but not too much. And they just seem to work really well for me. The fit is very good. They're stable in the heel. There's a little bit too much volume in the forefoot. That's really my only complaint about this shoe. But we'll see how this mile goes. So 6:15 on that one. And that feels about right, actually. Obviously, now that was my 5th mile that I ran. 2 for the warm-up and then 3 at speed. So definitely not as fresh as the first mile in the Rocket X2. These definitely felt faster than the Adios Pro 3, even though it was the last shoe I wore. And that was proven with the time. I did run faster in this shoe than the Adios. I have to say, though, these do feel the firmest of the 3 shoes. So people who say that the Endorphin Elite is a firm shoe, it is the firmest of those 3. It does have more bounce than the Hoka shoe, but like that one, again, I think has the best rocker. It's the best for cadence runners. It's the best at getting your feet moving fast. I think of the 3 shoes, if I was going to take any of them to run intervals or sessions, the Hoka I'd probably get the highest top speed in. The Adios and the Endorphin Elite feel like they have more of that higher stack. You know, they're more designed to be a marathon shoe. They're not really designed to run 1 mile as fast as you can, but obviously having bouncy foam, a light shoe, and a carbon plate does help you to run fast regardless of the distance. But yeah, the Hoka kind of surprised me today. If I was going to run a short race, I think I might actually take those over either of these 2. I've really been enjoying the Endorphin Elite. I had a really nice 5K run in these recently, but I think the next 5K I do, I might take the Rocket X2 out to give them a shot. Hello again. So a little bit of update on how I've been using these shoes recently. I recently did a 10-mile run to Blue Point Brewery, which ends with unlimited beer. So that's a good run to do if you're in the New York area. But I wore this shoe for it, the Endorphin Elite, and I have these up to 55 miles now. So I've passed 50 miles. The wear in the heel really hasn't changed at all. I got this after I ran the marathon, where this part of the exposed foam kind of rubbed down a little bit, but nothing's really changed around that at all, and the rest of the outsole is holding up really well. So my initial concerns about degradation of this without having the pad there have been unfounded. This is doing well at this point still. So here's the shirt, and this is also a pretty cool medal. If anybody's familiar with Blue Point beer, this is actually a can of their toasted lager, and it has a bottle opener on the back. So function, form and function. Good job, Blue Point. I wasn't doing any training specifically to prepare for that race. It was just a race that kind of came across while I've been running during the winter. So I've kind of been running more longer miles. I've been biking a lot more on the Peloton bike, which I think's actually made a big difference with helping keep my legs loose. So I definitely recommend cycling as cross training. I feel like it's helping to improve a lot of the same muscles that you use for running. And I haven't had any lower back issues or really kind of any kind of tightness in my legs since I've been using the bike so much. That race I did in an hour, 14 minutes and change. So I ran about 7:26 average pace. So it was a decent effort. You know, it's not the fastest I've ever gone, but I was happy with, you know, sub 7:30. And the best part of that race, again, one thing that I do often is sprints. Like usually at least once a week, I'll do sprints for at least a minute, you know, running very hard with recoveries in between. And I feel like that's really helped me to improve my closing speed. At the end of that race, I got up to 4:32 mile pace. I passed probably like 20, 30 people in the last 400 meters. I was just sprinting like a maniac to the finish line. But it always feels good at the end of the race when you can just explode to the finish and everyone's like, oh crap, what is this guy doing? The Rocket X2 I now have up to 63 miles. This one's also doing very well durability wise as well. There's not really that much scuffing on the rubber here. This is still looking very solid. And again, I really like the fit of this one. It has a tight, narrow kind of fit to it, but it really fits my foot perfectly. So I would say, though, if you do have a wider foot, this one is going to be a problem for you. But if you have a narrow foot or like a regular volume foot, you might find a really nice racing fit from this shoe. With that mile today in the Adios Pro 3, I just got these up to 101 miles. So I passed 100 miles. And again, this outsole is holding up excellent. Adidas rubber really seems to be very durable. And this midsole compound, Light Strike Pro, is also probably one of the most durable compounds out there. It really doesn't lose its springiness. It doesn't lose. It's not ZoomX. A lot of times, like after 50 miles, 100 miles, you can kind of feel the life leaving it. This is still kicking just fine. I did my warm up again in the Zoom Fly 5, and anyone who's seen my video on this shoe, you'll know it's so heavy. It's over 13 ounces in my size, so this really is a great shoe to use to warm up in when you switch to one of those ones, because then you feel like you're Superman when you take this thing off your foot. It's funny now too, because I used to use this for long runs, and I'm like, it's got all that cushioning for long runs. It's stable, but it's so heavy, you really can't do anything other than run long and slow in it. Whereas with the Super Blast that I now have from Asics, I probably won't be using this shoe very much anymore, because that does everything this does, plus more. It's better, it's lighter, it's bouncier, it's faster. It's kind of relegated this shoe to just being one that I'm going to warm up in. So as I kind of said earlier in this video, all three of these are really good shoes. I think these are three of the best carbon plate super shoes out there. Price wise, the Rocket X2 retails for $250. I haven't really seen this one on sale all that much yet. The Saucony Endorphin Elite is $275, so that's the most expensive of the three, and I've never seen that one on sale. The Adidas Adios Pro 3, the longest name shoe, retails for $250. I've seen the shoe go on sale for in the 170s, $180, but Adidas just seems to keep coming out with new colorways of this shoe. Not coming out with the Adios Pro 4 yet, and it's going back to full price whenever they come out with the new colorway. So this is still the same shoe they've had for, I think, almost 2 years now. So what are my final thoughts on these three shoes? I think really the Hoka shoe is going to fit someone with the narrow foot the best. I think this is the speediest of the three shoes. I would choose this for a shorter race, like a 5K or a 10K. I think I might be able to keep my cadence up. This one with the rocker shape of it really helps you to kind of move your feet forward. Also, since it's a little bit lower drop, it's a little bit more nimble of a shoe. So I think for going fast, shorter distances, this is the choice. But it's not, then it kind of loses that advantage when you go to a longer race, like a half marathon or a marathon. So for a half marathon or a marathon, advantage to these two shoes, they have that higher stack. They have more bounce to them. They give you a little bit more assistance than the Hoka shoe does. I think that's using the rocker and the plate to kind of glide you along, but it's giving you less kind of energy return. This shoe was squishier than this one today. It gave me a little bit more bounce, but this one is a little bit more of aggressive of a toe off. So I think in a shorter distance race, I would go for this one over the Adios Pro 3. In a marathon, it's kind of a toss-up. I've used both of these in a marathon before, but both marathons, I did not do what I was expecting to do. These I used in New York where it was crazy hot and humid, and these I used in a freaking windstorm. So I was not able to get my best performance on either of those days. But these are all three really excellent shoes. The Saucony shoe ended up with the fastest mile when I ran on the track, and the Hoka ended up with the fastest mile today outside, but they were both the first shoe that I used on that test. So that's also giving an advantage to them. Finishing the warm-up, whatever shoe I'm going to use next is when I have my most energy and I'm ready to go. And they had about the same exact time as well, in that when it was the first mile that I was running hard. So that was pretty much a tie. But as far as overall picking one of these two shoes, I think I would go with the Saucony, just because I would also use this one for a marathon, and it still works well at short distances. It's also a little bit lighter weight than the Hoka shoe, even though it has a higher stack. And this one having a little bit firmer foam works better for me than the foam in the Hoka shoe. So again, for training, for cadence, for short races, I think I'd give it to the Hoka. But overall, I do prefer the Saucony Endorphin Elite. By weight or second rate, none of these shoes are second rate, obviously. They're all too expensive, but that's the price of carbon plate racing shoes these days. They're all in the 200s. Thankfully, they're all under 300. The Saucony shoe being the most expensive at $275, the other two at $250. Overall, these are really three of the best shoes that I've ever run in, so I can recommend all of them. But really, what's going to work best for you depends on your mechanics, your size, your foot shape. So I would say if you're able to try these on in a running store, definitely give that a shot, see what's going to fit you the best. That's all I have for today. Please remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.